You're listening to the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS podcast with hosts Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook Podcast show here. We are recording for Monday's 9-game main slate over on DraftKings. It is the day before the MLB trade deadline. We've already had monster trades go down over the weekend. Max Scherzer now a member of the Texas Rangers. Jordan Montgomery now a member of the Texas Rangers here. So this is the Hug Watch alert for the next 2 days here on the podcast and the live stream, because players that we're talking about, lineups that we're building could be changed on a dime, sometimes changed mid-game, which is not good for us as players are traded. So more than ever, some of our strategy around building lineups and breaking down slates will be buyers and sellers. What teams are looking to sell? What players could be on the moves? What teams are looking to buy? Which players already come out and organizations have come out and said, we're not trading this player, i.e. Nolan Arenado. Cardinals says they have no intention of trading him. The Red Sox supposedly have told teams no on Justin Turner. So that's going to be kind of the big deal as we go down and break down this slate here today, especially. And then when we do the morning show for Tuesday, which is trade deadline day, that as well. At least on Tuesday when we go live at 5 p.m. Eastern, we'll have all the information. Sure, there may be players on the slate that we can't use because they've been dealt, but at least we don't have to worry about anybody else being moved on from.
We'll know. We'll just know.
We'll know. But breaking down the Monday slate and then giving you the early first look for Tuesday's slate, don't be surprised if names we talk about find themselves wearing different jerseys by the end of the day here. So I just want to get that little note out of the way because it is an exciting time for those who follow the MLB. Trade deadlines are always exciting no matter what sport you tend to follow here. And this one will be no different. James, before we break down and get into the 9-game slate here, quick shout out to our friends over at Real Time Fantasy Sports. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. Promo code ALARM23 will get new users a 100% deposit match up to $200. You see myself and Howard Bender. We give out our RT Sports DFS pick and plays of the day early in the morning. You can go to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel, which hopefully you're watching on right now, and clicking the like and subscribe button as you're tuning into the show today. And you can catch those videos here. And then, of course, James and I, when we go live at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we give you our RT Sports DFS pick and plays of the day as well. So go over again, real-time fantasy sports, rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23 to get a 100% deposit match up to $200. They have their DFS Pick'em contest. They also have their best ball and seasonal fantasy football championships now drafting going on live right now as well. So go check out rtsports.com. A lot of awesome things happening on over there. That said, James, let's turn our attention to this DraftKings main slate. Let's go look at Las Vegas. Let's talk about some game totals and spreads that we may be keying in on for this 9-game slate.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot out right now on the Vegas front. At the current time, we are recording just 5 games that have money lines available. Charlie Morton in the Atlanta Braves -250 over the Los Angeles Angels. Corbin Burns in the Milwaukee Brewers -196 over on FanDuel Sportsbook, -195 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Seth Lugo in the San Diego Padres. Coors Field slate, by the way, in Coors Field -215. So speaking of Coors Field, that we do have an over-under there on DraftKings and DraftKings alone. It is opening at 12, and there is a lean on the over. So we'll see if that moves by the time the 5 o'clock show comes around, but it's opening at 12. The other double-digit spread we have available to us is Angels Atlanta. And then there's nothing else we really have, John. 9 implied runs in Milwaukee, Washington, 9 implied runs in Baltimore, Toronto, and we don't have anything else. So,
right.
That's it on the Vegas front. We don't have much weather as of the recording. It looks like there is projected rain in Coors, but we will obviously monitor that. But that looks like to be the only weather issue we're going to have.
Right. All right, let's go on to our pitching here. We're going to break it down again, position by position, groups. Pitching, 3 guys up over $10,000. We have Glasnow, Burns, and Abbott. Glasnow on the road against the Yankees. Burns on the road against Washington. Cincinnati on the road against the Cubs here. So top 3 pitchers all pitching on the road. Thoughts on these spots here. Glasnow, we know, has immense strikeout upside. Corbin Burns starting to come into form, and then, we doubt Andrew Abbott, and he keeps on pitching through it. So talk to me, man. How are you ranking these first three guys?
You doubted. You doubted Andrew Abbott.
Well,
Start.
the Fangraphs
You.
continues to doubt Andrew Abbott, and he
Yeah.
pitches through it. So,
I like all of them. I think they're the clear-cut top options of the slate. Like probably the only three guys I really care about over 8K on this slate. Glasnow has been tremendous. I mean, you'd have to date back to June 20th with the last time he hasn't put up at least 23 fantasy points in a game. The strikeouts over that span, just casual 8, 9, 7, 8, 11, 12.
love the
I
pitch
mean,
count,
like you said,
right? Pitch count's been great.
Yeah, the innings, the pitch count, the Rays offense scoring again. So everything with Glasnow is trending in the right direction. He looks elite, and the Yankees offense, we know. Aaron Judge sat Sunday, so he'll be back in the lineup Monday. That's kind of what the trend is right now, unless the Yankees prove that they can make something of this next stretch of games. They're not going to push Aaron Judge with it. He's already come out and said he's not going to be 100% until the end of the year.
Right.
So, I assume he's in the lineup, but it's a less than 100% version. So I like Glasnow. I like Corbin Burns, as you mentioned, coming into form. It's not a high strikeout offense that he's facing here, but the recent stretch has given us a lot of hope. 5 straight quality starts for Corbin Burns, 4-1 over that span, 18 plus fantasy points, including 240 ceiling, of the ceiling 40 fantasy points. And he's done 3 of those matchups against Cincinnati, who are obviously not as good as they were right when De La Cruz got called up, but still like a potent offense. And Philly, we know, has somewhat turned it around. I know their slumps, a couple of guys are back in slumps there, but I like Burns. And I do like Abbott. I know the Cubs offense has been really good, but he continues to miss bats at a pretty good level.
185
I know he had
ISO
that
for
weak outing against Milwaukee.
185 ISO for the Cubs over the last 2 weeks against left-handed pitching. Cubs are a team, came out, said they're not trading Cody Bellinger, so that was a surprise, I think, to many, that they thought maybe they would be looking to sell on Bellinger here in the start. Not the case. Again, Abbott obviously has been fantastic, right? Goes up against Milwaukee, 6 shutout, comes off 8 shutout against San Francisco there. The strikeouts ticked up nicely. He's got a 1.9 ERA. His expected ERA is 3.36, so that's starting to come down. The FIP's 3.75. The xFIP is 4.30. He's definitely getting lucky. Batting average in balls in play just 222. He's at a 96% left on base percentage. He has just a 25% ground ball rate, so a lot of fly balls, not a lot of home runs allowed, but he is pitching to it, and he's pitching well. So guys that miss bat sometimes can kind of pitch through some of these interesting sabermetrics that would suggest maybe a regression or not. And Abbott certainly is missing bats right now. The one thing with Milwaukee here is just Washington in the trade deadline, right? Like, they're a team that is rumored to be selling some pieces. Jaime Candelario was the name floated about possibly being moved. So, like, yes, Washington has been very good this year in terms of not striking out. We've stacked them a lot. They've been pesky against certain guys, but as this team starts to get stripped of its parts outside of like CJ Abrams, then their identity changes, and you can maybe start striking them out and deal with them. So I'm with you. I think I like Corbin Burns here and Glasnow the most. And I'd rank Abbott third. I'm not sure where you had Abbott of that group, but I would keep them as they're priced.
I would probably keep them as their price, but if I'm making a lineup and I have a good enough value everywhere, like I'd mix and match two.
Over the last 2 weeks, the Los Angeles Angels have a 28.5% strikeout rate versus right-handed pitching. Charlie Morton on the bump here for Atlanta. Morton obviously having a tough go of it his last 2 starts, running up against Boston and Arizona. Pitched well against the White Sox here. If you can avoid the man that is Shohei Ohtani, you're generally pitching pretty well here against the Angels. Thoughts on Charlie Morton at 93?
I'm okay with it. I mean, he's a big favorite. He's obviously live to win this game, but I mean, the strikeouts are obviously way down. He hasn't had more than 5 strikeouts
Sure.
in his last 3 starts. He hasn't had more than 6 strikeouts since June. I'm I don't know. I'm
Okay.
okay. I'm okay with it. I'm not sold on Morton coming into. I think he's wearing his age a little bit more in recent
Sure.
starts, but we'll see. He could be fine against the Angels. The Angels have been pretty good lately. I know the strikeout rate you mentioned is high, but they have been winning a lot of games, obviously behind, on the back of
Yeah,
Shohei
100%.
Ohtani.
So where are you then? You mentioned there wasn't a lot of guys in the 8K range. There was maybe some you had keyed in on down below. Like, who is it then that you're looking at? If you're after you get past Glasnow, Burns, and Abbott, Kirby versus Boston, Stroman versus Cincinnati, Cobb gets Arizona guys in tough spots. Bassett against Baltimore. We know it's a lefty delight in that Baltimore lineup. And we've seen Bassett struggle in that spot. Herman, hit or miss. Canning gets Atlanta. France versus Cleveland is like, where are you going with your next start here?
France versus Cleveland, I think, is the play. The first off, he's going to have monstrous run support, facing Noah Syndergaard making his debut for Cleveland.
Wheels up, literally, for the
He
Astros runners in this
has
game. So
yes, wheels up for everything, and they might not be able to steal a base because they might get on and first pitch home run right behind them. Like it, there might not be many trips for stolen bases. It might be 2 out of hand early. Look, France has been really good. We picked on him earlier in the year, and it worked once. Other than that start, he's allowed pretty much all but twice. So in 14 starts, more than 3 earned runs twice this year. And once since that Cubs start early on. He struggles against righties. Cleveland has a very lefty dominant lineup. No, Ahmed Rosario doesn't help that at all. Like, Ramirez is going to hit lefty. Quan hits lefty. Bell hits lefty. I mean, all these guys are going to hit lefty. He has good splits against them. And again, he's lowered his ERA down to 2.87 with back-to-back starts of 1 and 0 earned run. And that's, one of those starts was against Texas his last time. He's won 4 of 5 starts. So again, win equity there, 15 plus fantasy points in 4 of those 5 games. So I think JP France looks really, really good. I'm expecting him to be pretty popular here as well because, like, you just went down through all those names. The inconsistencies facing all of them.
Would you dare
tremendous.
Seth Lugo in Colorado? Because Lugo's pitched pretty well. He faced really Colorado already this year. 7 innings, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts. That start was at home. First start for him of the year. The Coors bump hasn't really been a Coors bump this season for as bad as the Rockies have been this season. It's a righty against Colorado here. It's not a lefty. So, some of their guys that we generally stack up against sometimes are neutralized a little bit here. $6,600 for a guy that has been 8K, 76, 74, 79, 8K, 8K. Like, he's just getting priced down because they're in Coors. Not due to performance here. So, Seth Lugo, do you think he gets some decent rostership in this matchup?
Maybe. I mean, Colorado's definitely been better against righties overall this year. 731 OPS as a team is 15th in the league.
But still middle of the pack overall.
I think they're still middle of the... No, I know. I'm just like, versus lefties, OPS, they're 23rd, right? So they've been 694 team OPS. So their team OPS is over almost 40 points higher against righties. So I'm okay getting to Lugo. I'm interested to see if he's dealt. Like, he's a good pitcher. I mean, maybe he should have been stretched as a starter like a long time ago because this is his first like campaign as a starting pitcher. The home runs have been randomly rearing its head lately. Like, he hadn't allowed any home runs pretty much at all. Now 5 in his last 3 starts when he allowed 6 in his first 12 overall. So that's like a little interesting that the fly ball rate is like creeping up a little bit. I'm okay with it. He's better than a $6,600 pitcher. So like on that front, I agree where like you're getting a better pitcher at, a pretty good price point. I'm okay with it. Like, I'd rather find a couple hundred extra to get to France, but if you want to be a little different,
and we're out on everybody else, right? We're not pitching anybody else here.
San Francisco's been pretty bad against righties lately, right? I know Ryan Nelson is, like he is like
I mean,
generally been bad.
I
He's
would
been
pitch just pitch
very up and
Lugo.
down.
Like I'm not.
Okay.
I don't think I would. If I
Okay.
needed a 6K pitcher, Lugo is where I'm gonna go.
Fine by me.
All right, let's go on over to the infield spot here. Talk about catcher, your first base, second, third, short. Our top end spend ups here across the board at these spots. I mean, got to look at Adley, right? At 5K at catcher for sure. He's going to hit lefty against Chris Bassett here. I know the last time we talked about Bassett, some of his numbers against lefties were getting like slightly better. But just overall, still on the year, lefties are just absolutely smashing this guy, and the O's are going to send out a lot of guys from the left side of the plate against him here in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm okay with getting to Adley. This doesn't feel like a slate that I necessarily want to spend up on at catcher. Gary Sanchez exists in the world, double donged on Sunday. Now has 4 home runs in his last 10 games, 4 home runs in his last like 7 games overall. He's hit lefties extremely well. And then I'm literally just going to continuously say the name Tom Murphy until we're all playing Tom
You did
Murphy
play
every
him the other
day,
day.
because Tom Murphy, he continues to just rake
Yeah.
literally every day. He on Friday he goes 2 for 4 with a double and 2 ribbies, and then next day it's like, oh, by the way, 2 run bomb. He continues to be productive, double digit fantasy points in 3 of his last 4, and they don't raise his price. Like, I know Boston's going with a pitcher in Chris Murphy who's been good. He's been really, really good. It's likely going to be an opener situation. They did use Bernardino into the second inning on Sunday, so I'd be interesting to see if they did use Murphy maybe as
Well,
more
that's
of
the
a
thing, because the Red
traditional
Sox had to go
starter,
to
and
extras
then
today, and they used a good amount of their bullpen in that game against the Giants. So something to that point here. And the fact that they're on the road, they're not home, makes it difficult for them just to make a move. If they were in Boston, they have the Worcester Red Sox right there. They make a move, get a guy up. Like, that guy would have
right.
to fly cross country and be ready in Seattle. They can do it. It's not impossible to happen, but I would agree with you that this could be a spot where maybe they lean on Murphy a little bit more than they've had to in the past.
I don't know if that's like something that we could take. Like, he hasn't made any starts, right? He's been comfortable coming out of the bullpen, so maybe like change in routine could be something that throws him off. Either way, Tom Murphy, $2,500 feels like a steal at
Yeah.
this current
Again,
with the
I
way
would
he's
agree with you.
currently
Great value there as well at the catcher spot. I also think if you wanted to, you could take a peek and go up. You mentioned Gary Sanchez is there. Adley's at your top. We're always looking at Atlanta bats too, right? So Murphy's another guy that if you're spending up a catcher, you could find yourself getting a little different because not many people go there. You also have Yan Gomes against a lefty and Abbott. If you're not an Abbott believer, Yan Gomes gets a lefty. So some interesting spots up and down the catcher position here that you could build some lineups around. Talk to me some other your top price hitters. Like, where are you looking to key in on across the infield?
I mean, Manny Machado and Alex Bregman were the 2 guys that stood out to me right off the bat. Machado gets a lefty in Coors in Austin Gomber. He has been better. Hits in 5 straight games, a lot of RBIs lately as well, 10 RBIs over his last 10 games. The numbers have really come around on Machado. Like, suddenly we're talking about a guy with an 800 OPS after the first 2 months of the year. It didn't even seem like he existed in baseball. Bregman continues to literally rake, and that's why Houston's offense has popped off so much lately. 5 home runs in his last 10 games, 19 combined runs and RBIs over that span as well, averaging almost 12 fantasy points per game. I mean, anyone and everyone can hit off Noah Syndergaard and what Noah Syndergaard has morphed into, unfortunately, this year. It's been really sad to see, and it's been really sad to see since the injuries in New York, right? Like, he was so fun to watch, and then he just wasn't. So I really like attacking Syndergaard. I think Brandon Lau here against Domingo Herman, I talk about it religiously. Like, Domingo Herman had the flukiest perfect game, like everything lining up perfect ever. And Brandon Lau is going to, and the Rays in general have, been a little bit better of late, especially Brandon Lau, home runs in 3 of his last 5 games, 6 RBIs over his last 3 games, and over his last 10 overall, 333, 415, 611 slash for Lau. So hitting in the middle of the Tampa Bay lineup, it's a really good spot for him. So I
mean,
like
this is
Brandon
the guy
Lau in
that we were
mid-tier,
just
4,300.
plugging and playing for a stretch during the early part of the year. Got hurt, came back, couldn't hit you or I if we were pitching on the mound. Good to see him starting to come back around here. James, I mentioned earlier in the show the trade deadline here. We thought in the past it was a 4:00 Eastern time. It's not. It is not. It is a 6 p.m. Eastern time turnaround this year. So we'll still know ahead of time for roster lock for MLB DFS, but our DFS show that we do on Tuesday, we're still going to be in the thick of it as deadline news is breaking down. I don't know why the MLB is doing that to us here. Other guys that you like up at the top, anybody else? You mentioned obviously the third baseman. You mentioned Lowe here. First base, I mean, like Matt Olson just keeps being ridiculous, right? Griffin Canning. Bellinger, we know, hits lefties if you're not in on Abbott. Justin Turner continues to be ridiculous. He's $4,500. Homered again today for Boston. They said they're not trading him. Are you attacking Domingo Germán in New York? Like with Luke Raley? You mentioned already Lowe. Would Luke Raley fit a bill for you at 4,200?
Yeah, of course. I don't think much of Domingo Germán. Lefties have been the worst split, which kind of stinks this year. Not lefties don't have great numbers against him, but I'm willing to test that theory here because he's been bad overall. I know he's had some really good starts, but one of them included substance that they let him continue to pitch.
Yeah, very weird. Where they're like, "Hey, we know you're cheating. Just wash it off." And you're like, "Wait a minute, what?" Like he's supposed to be ejected and suspended for that. What are we talking about here?
And then he did, and then it happened again, and they're like, "Actually, maybe we should have suspended you the first time." So yeah, I would attack him with Luke Raley as well. I think another first baseman, a couple value options in the infield, both at first base here. Obviously, Tristan Casas continues to be awesome, and lefties are the split that gives George Kirby fits, and we saw that his last time he pitched against Minnesota, where he gave a bunch of home runs. How about Carlos Santana getting traded over to Milwaukee, and he homered on Sunday. Now has 4 home runs in his last 5 games. And I know this is the worst split for him, but Jake Irvin has been dreadful against lefties this year. 850 OPS allowed, 365 WOBA allowed. I don't know. Santana does provide some needed depth in the middle of this Brewers lineup because they've been bad overall. I could see a nice little Brewer stack that includes Santana, Yelich.
I agree with you. I'll do a quick shout out to Jose Altuve too with Syndergaard just being up there. Could be a multi-stolen base game for him in this one. Same thing for maybe Dubon, Jeremy Pena, guys like that could be finding themselves just running at will against Syndergaard. Has allowed the most stolen bases per innings pitched in baseball, basically over the last couple of seasons. So could be a big stolen base day here for the Astros. Any other infielders value or top tier that you're keying in on? Outfield time, top end guys all here. Acuna, Ohtani, Tatis, Judge, Soto, Jordan is back. Corbin Carroll, Kyle Tucker, big stolen base potential for him in this spot. Yelich against Irvin, as you mentioned here, good spot for him. So how are you ranking out these top end outfielders? 9-game slate loaded with talent.
So I said it on Friday, you can just always play Ohtani at this point. He homered off Gausman. That was the only run that Gausman gave up. Home run. I would say Tatis is number 1 against Gomber for me. I know he's been struggling. He's had a good game on Sunday. Jordan and Kyle Tucker are next for me, right behind Tatis.
We're assuming Houston's chalk
take your
on
pick
this slate,
or
right?
both. Yeah, I mean, I'd think so, just given how bad Noah Syndergaard's been. So Jordan and Tucker and Tatis would be the top tier for me. But then everyone else up here is yeah, you can play them if you'd like. Like you can obviously play Acuna, you can obviously play Ohtani, you can obviously play Judge, Soto, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like play him if you want. I just think Tatis and the two Astros up here are the on the top tier
Yeah, I
one
really
for
have
me at
nothing
least.
to like argue or add to. Honestly, I think that's where I would go as well. Again, not to say you can't go play Acuna or Corbin Carroll or Christian Yelich. It just the chalk is going to be with the Astros here, and then you have the Coors Field exposure with Tatis. Down in the next tier range below. Anybody of note sticking out to you? You have Josh Lowe, you have Yoshida. Merrifield leading off, being an absolute monster out of really nowhere. Just don't know where the season came for Whit Merrifield, but it's here for those who have played him. Then you got guys like Santander, who's going to hit from the left side and have some power here. What's your take on this 4K range for the outfield?
Yeah, shouts to Yelich at 53
Yeah.
too. I think he's firmly in play. Grishik 46 if you're playing Coors Field, that he's been great. Josh Lowe 4500. He's slowly coming back to where he was earlier in the year. We're getting some speed out of him again too, which is nice to see. Now 22 stolen bases on the year. I'm kind of out on Santander. I know it's a good spot, but he's been dreadful lately. I'm interested in some Reds outfielders just with how bad Stroman's been. Like, I could definitely get to some Fraley or Friedel here. Just, again, like, Stroman sucks. Or he's slowed down drastically. So I could get to some of them, some Reds. Sale Frelick when we head under 4K, 3,800 stands out again.
Yeah, getting a Frelick Yelich little two-piece there. Maybe Santana. Yeah.
I like Santana. Yeah, I like
Looks
Santana
pretty
too.
good. I agree. You can go the Giants left the outfielders if you want against Nelson. That will play up here. Teoscar against Murphy for as long as he can. There's at least one or two at bats potentially for him there against the lefty. Will Benson's 32. Yep. You talked about the Cincy outfielders here. Jake McCarthy 31 against Alex Cobb. We didn't. Where's Chas McCormick? Did we pass by him already? We did 41. 41. That's great. Jaron Duran pinch hit today, doubled, scored a run. $4,100 for him as well in that range. So some good value on this slate as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go much lower than Benson personally. I don't think there's any like stone cold min guys.
Yeah, we'll see what the lineups look like. Obviously as news breaks, guys get moved around here. Could find ourselves with some more value. A couple minutes left on the show, James. Let's go ahead and build our lineup here. France, I imagine, is one plug, and then Glasnow.
And Glasnow.
Alrighty. Catcher position, Tom Murphy. Let's get the value in there locked in. First base, or what's your spend up? What's a one spend plug you want here? Houston?
Either Houston or
let's go Houston. We'll build a chalky line. We'll see. Can we get Jordan and Tucker in a line? Jordan, Tucker, Murphy is 36.
Probably. Yeah, I went Frelick 38, Carlos Santana or Casas
Santana.
at first.
We have a little Milwaukee stack going on there. Second base down here. Let's see. Second, third. You like your spend up at third. Let's see. Was there value?
Yeah, third's a good spend up spot. Abraham Toro would probably be the value, but I don't know
Payne
even
is
know if he's going to be in the lineup.
It's short, so we'd get a second and third for 3,300.
Or we could play Luciano at shortstop for $2,700. I just don't know if there's like a lot of other good value. He's right there.
All right, $4,100 for second baseman and a third baseman. Dubon, does he play?
He's definitely been bad lately. This value stinks.
Let's go off of Caballero. One. We'll put Chas McCormick. Pick Jordan or Tucker. Pick one to get off of. Okay.
Play Tucker.
Chas McCormick, 41. A 5K second baseman. You can do Altuve or Bregman.
I was gonna say Bregman at third.
Okay. And then a $4,800 second baseman. Justin Turner. Okay, love it. So that's a look
Yep.
here at example lineup for this slate. James and I will talk to you later.